Good day, kids! For today's lesson, we are going to have tenses of the verb. Let's define what is a verb. A verb is an important part of a sentence that describes an occurrence, a mental or physical action, or existence of a condition or a state. To exist, to be. In simpler terms, it is an action word. For today, we are going to focus on the tenses of the verb, or the simple tenses of the verb. We have the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. Let's have present tense. The simple present is a verb tense with two main uses. We use the simple present tense when an action is happening right now, or when it happens regularly, or unceasingly, which is why it's sometimes called present indefinite. Depending on the person, the simple present tense is formed by using the root form or by adding s or es to the end. Remember, we use present tense if the action is happening right now or when it happens regularly. So here are the rules or spelling rules that we use for the verbs in present tense. With most verbs, we simply add s. Ending in consonant plus y, we change y to I and add es. Ending in s, z, ch, or x, we add es. But we have some exception. For go and do, we add es. Let's have them elaborated. We use the present tense when we are talking about facts or things that we know are true. Examples: the earth goes around the sun, penguins live in the Antarctica. So in these examples, we know that these are factual. So take note for the usage of es or s and the base form of the verb. So we use the base form of the verb if our noun is plural. On the other hand, we use the verb with es or s if our noun is singular. Then, we use the perfect tense for situations that are quite permanent. Examples: she lives in Los Angeles, they work in the bank. Again, take note of the verb or how we use the verb. We use the verb with s if our noun is singular. We use the base form of the verb if our noun is plural. Then, we use the present tense for things that are done regularly or at some intervals. Example: they go to school by bus. Simon brushes his teeth after every meal. Because these actions are done regularly, we use present tense. So again, when our noun is plural, we use the base form of the verb. And when our noun is singular, we add es or s to our verb. Then, when a verb is used with I, we, you, or they, or plural nouns, the spelling is not changed, or we use the base form of the verb. Here are the examples. They work in the bank. Cows eat grass. So as you can see, they and cows are in plural form. That is why we use the base form of the verb. We do not change the spelling or we do not add es or s. Then, when a verb is used with pronouns he, she, and it, and with singular nouns, we may change the spelling of the verb. So here are the rules. For some verbs, we add an s at the end of the verb. So s is all we need to add for some verbs. Examples: it moves very quietly. Susan enjoys cooking. So as you can see, we use the pronoun it and Susan is singular. So both of our noun are singular. That is why we add s to the verb. So our verb is moves and enjoys. Again, when our noun is singular, we add s on some verbs. And here are the other rules for that. So for verbs that end with a y, if there is a consonant before the y, we drop the y and add e or ies. If there is a vowel before the y, we add an s after s, or y rather. Again, if it is a consonant before y, we drop the y and add an ies. But if there is a vowel before the y, we simply add s after the y. Examples: Tony carries his sick mother, and Anita plays all day long. So as you can see here, carries. So carries ends with y in its base form. That is why we drop or we change y to I and add es, because the precedent letter is letter R, which is a consonant. On the other hand, for plays, we simply add s after the y because the precedent letter is a vowel, which is a. Next, let's have the past tense. Simple past tense is used to talk about action that happened in the past, meaning the action is done. It is already done. So English has two types of verbs in the past. We have regular and irregular verbs. Let's have the regular verbs first. The past tense of regular verbs is formed by adding d or ed to the base form of the verb. Again, for regular verbs, all we have to do is to add d and ed. But of course, we have to follow some rules. So here are the example. I worked in a shop last year. I lived in a big house when I was younger. So how do we form the simple past tense? Here are some rules. So regular past simple forms are formed by adding ed to the infinitive of the verb. For example, start will become started, kill will become killed, jump will become jumped. So if a verb ends in e, you add d, just like the examples. If a verb ends in a vowel and a consonant, the consonant is usually doubled before ed. So as you can see here, stop, we have a vowel and a consonant. That is why we have to double the consonant p. Same with plan, because it has a vowel and a consonant. If a verb ends in y consonant and y, you take off the y and add ied. So again, if it has a consonant, or if the verb ends with y with the preceding letter consonant, we have to drop the y and change it with I and add ed. But if the word ends in a vowel and y, you add ed, just like the example play and enjoyed. Because it has a vowel and y, all we have to do is to add ed. Irregular past verb forms must be learned because they don't follow any rules. That is why we call them irregular verbs. Again, they do not follow rules. Example, I took a taxi to the airport. So the verb take become took in the past tense. That was when we spoke, speak to spoke. One person gave me his last bar of chocolate. Give to gave. So for irregular verbs, we have to be familiar with them because as I have said, they don't follow rules. So it will be better if you will be familiar or you will be able to memorize them. Here are the common irregular verbs that we can encounter. Simple past tense, regular and irregular verbs. Negative, use did not or didn't plus a base form of verb to make the past simple tense negative. So, example, I didn't live in a flat during my last summer holiday. I didn't go to Berlin last July. So as you can see, even though they are in past tense, they are in their base form because it is in negative statement. We use the word didn't or did not. Again, if we are stating something negative, we have to use did not or didn't and the base form of the verb to make it a past simple tense negative. Interrogative. So we have to use did plus subject and the base form of the verb to make the past simple interrogative. So did you travel by boat last holiday? Yes, I did. So our verb here is travel. As you can see, it is in the base form. But then again, we use the word did. Then we have the subject, you, then the base form of the verb. It is the same with the second example. We use did, then the subject, and the base form of the verb. Remember, the negatives are all formed with did plus not plus the infinitive without to. The question forms are very similar. Did plus the subject pronoun and the infinitive without to. And lastly, we have the future tense. It is used to express an action which has not occurred yet and will occur after saying or in the future. That is why it is named future tense. The action will happen in the future. It's not yet happening. So we have different ways of talking about the future. We often use going to plus the infinitive, the present continuous to be plus the ing of the verb, or will plus infinitive. The structure we use depends on the function of what we want to say, whether we are talking about arrangements, plans, prediction, and etc. Examples: I think the Green Party will win the election. Look out! You're going to spill that coffee. Forming the future indefinite. Positive sentence. So we should have the subject plus the auxiliary verb plus the main verb plus the object. Again, subject plus will plus the first form of the verb plus the object. For examples, I will buy a computer tomorrow. They will come here. When forming negative sentence, we have the subject plus auxiliary verb plus the word not plus the main verb and plus the object. Subject plus will plus not plus first form of the verb or the base form plus the object. To make negative sentence, not is written after auxiliary verb in the sentence. Examples: I will not buy a computer tomorrow. They will not come here. And for the interrogative sentence, we have the auxiliary verb plus the subject plus the main verb plus the object. Or will plus subject plus first form of the verb or the base form plus object. Interrogative sentence starts with auxiliary verb will. Example: will I buy a computer tomorrow? Will they come here? So, will versus going to. Here are some of the examples. For will, it expresses future action decided at the moment of speaking. Immediate decision. On the other hand, for going to, express future plans decided before the moment of speaking. Prior plans, or it has been planned. For will, expresses a prediction based on personal opinions or experiences. For going to, expresses a prediction based on present evidence. And lastly, for will, expresses a future fact. For going to, express something is about to happen. Both will and going to can be used for making future prediction without having a real difference in meaning. So we have the past tense wherein the action already happened. It's already done. Then we have the present tense that tells us that the action is happening right now, is ongoing. And lastly, we have the simple future tense that tell us something that will happen in the future. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening.